Price of Bitcoin under a bit of pressure today. However, that cryptocurrency jumped more than 6% last month. It is becoming more popular with institutional investors around the world. And BlackRock is a major player in this market. We are joined by Robbie Mitchnick, Head of Digital Assets at BlackRock. Thanks very much indeed for joining us.
Yeah, thank you, Andy, for having me.
Tell us a bit about yourself. Are you just in Canada or are you worldwide on the Bitcoin assets?
Well, our digital assets program is global.
Yeah.
I actually sit in New York, but I'm from Toronto. So it's always good to be home here. And when we think about digital assets, crypto is one part of that. The other two sort of core pillars of what we do in the digital asset space are stable coins and tokenized assets. So that's how we think of this on a global basis.
And you have a Bitcoin ETF in the States with about $70 billion US worth of assets?
Yeah, so globally, we're now listed with these Bitcoin ETP products in a lot of countries around the world. Mm-hmm. Globally, it's about 70 billion in assets now. So that's been a pretty extraordinary story, having started just in January of 2024 when we launched the first, now with a presence in LATAM, in Canada, of course, in Europe. But the resonance that this has had with investors of all types, whether we're talking about retail and investors, institutional, wealth advisors, has been pretty extraordinary. And
then you have a product in Canada. It started trading in mid-January. IBIT is the symbol. I think you call it IBID. And that one, I think we have a chart for that one. So almost $200 million in assets. And that will track the big, what does that track? The actual price of Bitcoin?
Well, it's holding shares of IBIT, the flagship U.S. Version. So basically what this is doing is giving Canadians ability to hold through that same value proposition of Bitcoin exposure and the convenience of an ETP, but now in a Canadian-listed product on Cboe Canada.
And ETP stands for Exchange Traded Product?
Yes, technically when it's just holding one commodity, in this case Bitcoin, the same way that a ETP that holds just gold, we call it an Exchange Traded Product, as opposed to exchange-traded fund. It's more of a technicality.
Oh, no, thanks. We love that. Yeah. But I can see the advantage. I personally would be wary about opening a crypto account because I don't want to worry about the assets all vanishing or me losing my password or something. So it is a more straightforward way to play Bitcoin.
Yeah, certainly the safety and convenience appeal of it has been a pretty significant part of it. This idea that you can hold Bitcoin exposure as easily as you hold a stock within an existing brokerage account and be able to do that on a very low cost, efficient way, where the custody in particular, where custody is a real challenge in the crypto space. As you note, there have been lots of challenges, whether we're talking about other ways that individuals have tried to custody assets. Obviously in Canada, Quadriga, hurt a lot of investors.
That's right, yeah. And
that whole episode. Self-custody, is great for some people, but it is not for the faint of heart. You really have to know what you're doing. So to be able to have the custody component in particular just out of the box inside the wrapper as part of an institutionally robust custody solution that the investor then doesn't have to worry about, that has certainly had a lot of resonance.
Now, correct me if I get this wrong, but for balanced portfolios, you guys are suggesting a crypto exposure of 1% to 2%?
Well, we put out a piece earlier this year, and this was from our BlackRock Investment Institute. And what it said was, for those who are looking to add Bitcoin in a portfolio, 1% to 2% is a reasonable range. Mm-hmm. And one of the ways that we went about that, obviously there's a lot of angles from which you could attack this, but when you think about the average exposure to, say, a Mag 7 stock within a balanced global portfolio, and think about the contribution to volatility that the average of those 7 names contribute. How do you solve for your Bitcoin volatility contribution being actually just the same as what those already are? And that spits out that 1% to 2% answer. And then we did see earlier this year from the BlackRock Model Portfolio Solutions Group, where they put Bitcoin in a model portfolio that we manage for the first time, and also in that 1% to 2% range.
And just remind me, why would I want to own Bitcoin?
Sure. Well, the value prop of this, which is certainly resonating with lots of investors, is that this is an emerging global monetary alternative that is global, it's scarce, it's decentralized, it exists outside of any one country and its economic, political, monetary, fiscal risk factors, right? Similar in a lot of ways to why investors have historically been attracted to gold. And in a world of increasing uncertainty and disorder, I think you're seeing that value prop resonate even more in recent years, and that's where the price is near the all-time highs that it is today.
And the argument here is Bitcoin would be a store of value, not so much a method of transactions.
That's right. So there's a little bit of usage today of Bitcoin in payments. Bitcoin was the original innovation brought forth by blockchain, and for the first time made it possible to move value around the world in near real time at near zero cost. Now we're seeing huge traction in that use case from stablecoins, which are in various ways better fit for purpose for sort of day-to-day money movement transactions. There's still a little bit of value transfer happening through Bitcoin, but the majority of it, similar to gold, where there's a little bit of usage of it in sort of industrial applications, but the majority of it is being held as this store of value asset.
And so you're head of digital assets at BlackRock. I mean, That's a pretty high-profile role.
It's been a fun journey, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just looking. I mean, you have you've done training at MIT, but you're not a mathematician as such. You're more of a finance guy.
Yeah, you could say that.
Yeah. How do you find it? Sometimes do you find, this stuff is arcane?
No, I think that one of the great things about this space is that it's so rapidly evolving, and the technology is fascinating, and it's changing and opening up new applications and ways of looking at it. So I've been at BlackRock now for 7 years, just about, and it's been fun pretty much from the get-go.
I guess there's something new every day in this space. Yeah. Robbie, thanks very much indeed.
Thanks for having me.
Robbie Mitchnick, head of digital assets at BlackRock.